Hi, boys and girls. I am going to be starting something new and cool this week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a read aloud from a chapter book. I know everybody has different chapter books they enjoy. One of the most popular series is this one, Magic Treehouse books. And this is actually one of the books that both of my sons really enjoyed. It's called Blizzard of the Blue Moon. There are many, many books that you can check out by the same author, Mary Pope Osborne. And so if you like any of them or you like this one, feel free to check them out. You can get them on Kindle. You can get them online. There are reader louds to listen to. You can, of course, get your own books. You can go to the library. Any place you can get a book, it's definitely a good one to enjoy. So I'm going to read a chapter to you today. I'll show you the few pictures that there are, and I'll do a chapter a day so that you can enjoy it. If you have this book at home, you can definitely follow along as I read it to you. All right, here we go. Blizzard of the Blue Moon. Now, for those of you that have not read any of the books like Midnight on the Moon or any of the other Magic Treehouse books, there is a page in the front for any reader who hasn't read them before, and it's to give you the backstory so you understand a little bit about the book series so that it makes more sense to you as you read the book that you have. It says, "Dear reader, finally Jack and Annie go to New York City, the place I called home for over 25 years. New York City is a larger-than-life place filled with skyscrapers, taxis, subways, parks, museums, theaters, and busy, bustling streets. The city has all kinds of weather, too, from heat waves to raging storms. I remember one particularly dramatic blizzard in 1996. The city came to a complete standstill as the wind howled and it snowed and snowed and snowed. When the storm finally ended, pale sunlight shone on all the white streets and sidewalks, and everyone went out to play. Kids made giant snowmen and dogs tunneled through the snowdrifts. No matter what disasters it suffers, New York City always comes back. I hope you have a great adventure there with Jack and Annie in this book." Signed, right here, Mary Pope Osborne, the author of this series. For those of you that may not have read a Magic Treehouse book before, I'm going to show you right here. Here's the table of contents. They are almost always 10 chapters long. However, if you see, there's something before chapter 1 up here called a prologue. The prologue, again, is going to help you in a series when you haven't read the first one and read all the ones that came after. So in this prologue, it's going to help you understand more about the Magic Treehouse series, as well as the story about Jack and Annie and what's going on before you read the big main story of the book. One summer day, a mysterious treehouse appeared in the woods. A brother and sister named Jack and Annie soon learned that the treehouse was magic. It could take them to any time and place in history. They also learned that the treehouse belonged to Morgan Le Fay, a magical librarian from the legendary realm of Camelot. After Jack and Annie traveled on many adventures for Morgan, Merlin the magician began sending them on Merlin missions in the treehouse. With help from two young sorcerers named Teddy and Kathleen, Jack and Annie visited 4 mythical places and found valuable objects to help save Camelot. For their next 4 Merlin missions, Jack and Annie were told they must travel to real times and real places in history and prove to Merlin that they could use magic wisely. First, they went on a mission to the city of Venice. Next, they journeyed to the ancient city of Baghdad. On their most recent trip, they visited the city of Paris in 1889. Now, they are waiting to hear from Merlin again. Chapter 1 is titled The Last Unicorn. The November sky was gray with clouds. Jack sat reading in front of the living room fire. "Who wants chocolate?" his dad called from the kitchen. Me, please, said Jack. The front door burst open with a giant gust of cold wind. Annie rushed inside. Jack, guess what? She whispered. It's back. How do you know? Asked Jack. I was walking home from the library. Annie paused to catch her breath. And I saw a flash in the sky above the woods. The last time that happened. Before she could finish a sentence, Jack jumped up. Dad, Annie and I are going to go outside for a while, he shouted. Can the hot chocolate wait until we get back? Sure. Have fun, their dad called from the kitchen. I have to get my pack, Jack said to Annie. Meet you on the porch. Don't forget the rhyme book, said Annie. Annie slipped outside and Jack ran up to his room. He grabbed his backpack. He checked to make sure their book of magic rhymes was inside. Good! There it was. And here's a little picture for you to see. The cover of the 10 magic rhymes for Jack and Annie that they got from Teddy and Kathleen. Jack charged back downstairs. He pulled on his boots, put on his jacket, tied a scarf around his neck, grabbed his mittens, and headed out the door. Come on, said Annie. Jack could see his breath in the cold air. Brr, he said. Let's hurry. Jack and Annie ran down the street and into the Frog Creek woods. They wove between the trees, their boots crunching through the fallen snow and leaves. Jack stopped. The magic treehouse was back, high in a tall oak tree. It was silhouetted against the gray November sky. You were right, he said to Annie. Good work. Thanks, Annie said. She ran to the rope ladder and started up. Jack followed her. When they climbed inside the tree house, Jack and Annie saw a book and a scroll of parchment paper lying on the floor. Annie picked up the scroll, unrolled it, and read aloud. Dear Jack and Annie of Frog Creek, I am sending you on one more mission to prove that you can use magic wisely. This poem will guide you. Merlin. The very last unicorn is now hidden well by those who have put him under a spell. For centuries, for decades, from that afternoon, at the end of November, before the blue moon, he will wake once more and be free to go home. If you call out his name, divine flower of Rome. You must coax him to stand. Once his name is spoken, his chain will break, and the spell, too, be broken. Then a young girl must love him and show him the way, lest he be trapped forever on public display. If he loses this chance to rise and depart, all magic will fade from his horn and his heart. A unicorn, breathed Annie. I love him already. I'll show him the way. But this poem is really hard to understand, said Jack. What kind of research book did Morgan send us? He picked up the book that had been left by them by Morgan Le Fay, the librarian of Camelot. The cover showed a row of skyscrapers. The title was New York City Guidebook, 1938. New York City? Annie said. I love New York City. Remember the great time we had there with Aunt Mallory? And here is a picture of that cover of the guidebook they are looking at from 1938 of New York City. Yeah, I love it too, said Jack. But why would there be a unicorn in New York City in 1938? A unicorn is an ancient fantasy creature. New York City is a real place, and 1938 is not even that long ago. You're right, said Annie. It sounds like a hard mission, but don't forget, we have Teddy and Kathleen's magical rhymes to help us. Yeah, said Jack. He pulled out the book given to them by their friends Teddy and Kathleen, two young enchanters of Camelot. The problem is, we can only use each rhyme once, and we've already used 7 out of the 10, which means we still have 3 left, said Annie. What are they? pull a cloud from the sky, said Jack. Cool, Annie said. Yeah, it is, said Jack, but I'm not sure it will be much use. He looked back at the book. Find a treasure you must never lose, he said. Hey, that's a really good one, said Annie. The unicorn's a treasure, so that rhyme could take care of our whole mission. But it only partly fits, said Jack. You could call the unicorn a treasure, but once we find him, we have to lose him. He has to go back home. Oh, right, said Annie. What else? Your favorite, said Jack. Turn into ducks. Annie laughed. I can't wait to use that one, she said. I hope we never use that one, said Jack. He didn't want to waddle around and quack like a duck. These leftover rhymes don't seem very helpful to me. Well, let's just wait and see, said Annie. But now, she held up Morgan's research book and smiled. Jack nodded. New York City, here we come, he said. He pointed to the book's cover. I wish to go there. The wind started to blow. The tree started to spin and spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. And that's the end of chapter 1. Now, if you've read the other Magic Treehouse books, you probably already know this, but for those that don't, whenever they point to a picture and say they want to go there in a wish, it takes them to that place they see in the picture, and the time as well. Now, Jack and Annie are just beginning their adventure. You'll have to wait till tomorrow to find out what happens in the next chapter. Unless you get the book and read it for yourself. Then you'll know before I even read it to you. Have a good day. Bye.